Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. Guys, I wanted to do a few videos about this Canelo Mayweather thing. I want to go into it into depth. I'm also going to do a lot of Calm Brook videos. I know KP, you asked me to do some Calm Brook. I have actually recorded some videos, which I'm going to upload tomorrow. I was going to upload it today, but I didn't upload it, and it's a bit late now. I want to upload that a bit earlier, so then you guys, it gives me a bit more time. You get a bit more time, because obviously Calm Brook is more UK time. So I'll upload it a little bit early, like 4 o'clock, so then it gives more time, for people to watch it. So yeah, I've done one with my brother, and it's a good watch. So make sure you tune in for that tomorrow, because I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy, my brother and my breakdown of Khan and Brook. So don't worry, there's going to be a lot of Khan and Brook videos coming. Don't worry about that. Stay tuned for that, because I'm very, very excited. Floyd Mayweather. So let's talk about Floyd Mayweather's comments about Canelo. Before I get into it, smash the like button, guys. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Let's get those likes up, guys. Let's get those likes up. Very important for you to like my videos, because it helps my channel. But let's get into this. Let's get into this deep. Canelo Alvarez, or Floyd Mayweather, had said that, he was given an interview and he goes, Canelo, steroids. Basically accusing, I wouldn't say he wasn't accusing, but he was indirect about it. About, Canelo's steroid use and Canelo using, listen, man, Canelo Alvarez, he failed a drugs test, and then they did the, Mike likes to talk about it, they did the test after, and Canelo came clean. A lot of people say, well, oh, Canelo, he's the face of boxing, so nobody's gonna, come on. Look, I've got nothing against any fighter. A lot of people say, oh, you're a Canelo fanboy. There's many fighters that have been accused, this, that, and the other. There's many fighters that have been accused. Now, Canelo Alvarez is a great fighter. Stop trying to use listen, whatever you think he used, it's irrelevant. Canelo Alvarez is a great fighter. Canelo, it doesn't matter what he did, what he did. He's a great fighter. So, a lot of people said stuff about Floyd back in his heyday about something to do with his hands, or he used something. But I don't really look at fighters like Floyd Mayweather. Was a phenomenon. He was a great fighter. I don't care about, because there's a lot of fighters that may have used something that never got away with it. We just don't know. But don't try to take away from Canelo's greatness by, talking about this, that, and the other, because I don't like it. And I don't like when people do it about Mayweather, because people do the same with Mayweather. They do the same with Pacquiao. It irritates me. Anytime a fighter is great, and listen, Canelo did fail a drugs test, so, that is a asterisk there. But the fact is, he was cleared after that by the Hair Forsyth test, was it? He was cleared after that. So that's it. After that, he's never, and we know if Canelo's failed once, if he was to do it again, then he'll fail again. Because VADA is it. They don't mess around. VADA don't mess around. So we need to get off this rubbish about trying to diminish Canelo. We need to get off this rubbish. We need to get off this rubbish about Floyd, this, that, and the other. We need to get off it. And listen, like Floyd, I like Floyd. I think he was one of the greatest fighters of all time. And I don't care what people say. He was one of the greatest fighters. But I just don't like it when he's always digging into, I feel like anyone that's a threat to his legacy, I feel like he attacks them. Oh, well, I beat Canelo. That was easy work. And Canelo hasn't improved. And I'm going to do a video about that as well, because I found that very interesting. Canelo hasn't improved as a fighter, and just nonsense, man. I like Mayweather. I do like Mayweather. I'm a fan of Mayweather. I even said I thought Mayweather could have beaten Sugar Ray Leonard, which people laughed at me at. People said I'm crazy. People said no way Floyd Mayweather can beat Sugar Ray Leonard. But that's my honest opinion. I believe he could have done. But what frustrates me is that I see Floyd, and Floyd had a great career, and I just feel sometimes now that Canelo's let Canelo, rather than trying to diminish Canelo, just give him his respect. And Floyd did give him respect, but I feel like he gives him respect, and then he brings him back down and says, oh well, steroids. Oh, he's ducking Benavidez. Like, Floyd knows Canelo's a great fighter, and yeah, you beat him. Floyd Mayweather beat him. So that's it. Floyd's legacy is a great legacy. He's done great. But, Canelo, all Canelo said that I feel now that if I fought Floyd now, I'd beat him. Right? And Canelo respects Floyd a lot. You don't really see Canelo really disrespecting Mayweather, do you? He gives Floyd a lot of respect. He actually says, he's a great fighter and it was a great honor to share the ring with him. This is what Canelo says. I just think Floyd feels that anyone that becomes a bit of a threat to his legacy, he can surpass him. I feel like he gets a bit, he starts talking about his own career. And, Floyd had his day in the sun and he was a great fighter. But to start having a go at Canelo and... I just think, and Floyd Mayweather knows a lot about boxing. He knows a lot about boxing. He's very, very shrewd and very, very intelligent. Mayweather knows his stuff. But he does sometimes come across bitter. He can come across bitter, especially towards anyone that potentially could be a threat to his legacy, And here's the thing. Just because you beat somebody, this is another thing. Just because you beat somebody doesn't mean they can't have a better legacy than you. Because Floyd fought Canelo when Canelo wasn't as good as what he is now. That's I don't care what anybody says. And Floyd is right that I was 36 and I was out my prime. I don't agree with that. Because Floyd was 36, but he was the best in the world at that point. Canelo wasn't anywhere near. I don't even know if Canelo was a top 10 pound for pound at that point. Floyd was number 1 pound for pound. So how when Floyd says that if I was in my 20s, I would have destroyed Canelo? No, because you were the best fighter in the world. When you were in your 20s, you weren't considered the best fighter in the world. You were one of the best fighters in the world, but he wasn't considered the best. When you were 36, everyone considered you the best in the world. So when you fought Canelo, although Floyd wasn't in his physical prime, Floyd was actually the best version of himself. And actually, Floyd was actually the hardest to beat. When Floyd was fighting early on as Pretty Boy Mayweather, actually Floyd was more beatable. When Floyd became Money Mayweather, he actually became harder to beat, in my opinion. So when Floyd says that if I had fought this guy in his 20s, I would have destroyed him, I don't agree with that. Because I actually think Floyd Mayweather younger would have left himself open a lot more and Canelo would have got more opportunities. Floyd at 36 was the best version of Floyd. I tell you why. Because Floyd was fighting a way where guys were struggling to get near him. He was hard. Listen, you weren't going to beat that Mayweather. Mayweather, at 36, he was the best in the world and he was just unbelievable. He got behind that tricky defense of his and he just outboxed anyone and everyone. So when people say that, Floyd was 36 and he was past. No, he wasn't past his best, guys. He was never past his best when he fought Canelo. Floyd was, was the best fighter in the world. You're not, if you're 36, right? Listen, anyone that's 36 is not young in boxing terms, especially for a guy that's a welterweight. That is old. But Floyd was so smart and so gifted and so great that he wasn't past his best. He was still in my opinion, his prime, so to speak, because he was so intelligent and so ahead of other fighters. But Floyd wasn't past his best. Floyd was never past his best. He was always great. Whenever Floyd was fighting, he was the best in the world. When he was in his 20s, Floyd was more aggressive. But that might have not worked against a bigger man. The reason why Floyd adapted and went from being aggressive to actually more defensive is because of the fact that he knew now that he's moving up weight classes, he can't take the punches. I remember when he fought DeMarcus Chop Corley, was it? He got caught with some big shots. Floyd had a good chin. But as he moved up the weight classes, there's no way he could have carried on taking the shots that he was in the lower weight classes because guys would have got to him and potentially would have hurt him. Floyd knew that. That's why Floyd adapted. That's why I say the way Floyd Mayweather adapted from Pretty Boy Floyd to Money Mayweather was impressive. And that for me adds to his legacy. That makes for me his legacy greater because there's very few fighters. Look at Roy Jones. Look at many other great fighters. Once they get older and they go out of their physical prime, they're not able to adapt. They're not able to adjust. What makes Mayweather so great is that Mayweather was able to adjust. When he knew he got older and he was fighting bigger men, he knew he couldn't trade with these guys because these guys could hurt him and and really hurt him. So what Floyd Mayweather did, Floyd Mayweather adjusted his style and become more defensive, and that made him more harder to beat. That made him harder for them to land big shots on him. So Floyd became more of a master boxer, and that was smart. That was the right thing to do. That's what most guys should do. When you're moving up weight classes, it's dangerous because when you're moving up weight classes, the guys are bigger, they're stronger, they punch harder. If you give them more opportunities to hit you, if they hit you, they could knock you out. Floyd knew that, so Floyd became more defensive. Floyd became a much better boxer. You know, he didn't slug as much. He looked to just outbox guys, and you got to respect that. You got to respect that because he was able to adapt, and very few fighters are able to adapt like that. Very few fighters, most of the fighters that, you know, that were very flashy and very good early on in their careers, they're unable to adapt. You know, they become more vulnerable as they get older. Roy Jones is a perfect example. Very, very talented fighter, but he was a flawed fighter. He wasn't able to adapt as he got older. Hence why he got knocked out by a lot of guys that he shouldn't even, in his prime, wouldn't have even been able to tie his shoelaces. But that's because he wasn't able to adapt as he got older. Because he fought a way which was flawed, but he was so great and so athletically gifted, Roy Jones, that he was able to make the guys that he was fighting just look average. But when Roy got older, he ended up getting knocked out a lot more because he wasn't as fast and as quick and on his feet as he was in his prime. And that's why unfortunately, Roy Jones ended up getting knocked out a few times in the latter part of his career, which was sad because those guys that knocked him out wouldn't have been able to touch Roy in his prime. Simple as that. You wouldn't be able to touch him in his prime. You know, Roy was something else. But this is what I'm trying to say. I think, you know, when Floyd talks about Canelo, I think Canelo's a great fighter. He's one of my favorite fighters in boxing right now. But that's just my opinion. I'm pretty sure some people will disagree. If you do disagree, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And guys, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.